So this is the 1 hour PD for Google CS first. So it's bringing coding activities, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how to integrate these coding activities into a Google Classroom that you may have set up already. Once again, please be sure to sign in. I put the sign in link in the chat again. We are able to provide CTLE credit, but only if you please fill out this form here, and we'll have another form at the end of the session. Okay, great. So just to get started here, just give you a little bit of background. So I work at a nonprofit called Mouse, and we are partners with Google that help bring this PD to you. So I think the next slide, yep, this slide's a little bit confusing, but it kind of lets you know where what everyone's role is in this process. So again, so I work at Mouse. We provide the professional development on behalf of Google. So sorry, I know this is a tough thing to understand, but so again, I work at Mouse. We do the PD. Google in partnership with Google, who has created a curriculum called Google CS First. And that curriculum works on a tool called Scratch. So I don't know if anyone in the room has used Scratch before. Feel free to put it in the chat if you have. But it is a online coding platform designed for children. So it's, instead of writing lines of code, you're putting blocks of code together. They kind of look like Lego pieces on the screen, but we'll see that in a bit. So just a quick agenda. We're going to learn a little bit about what CS First is as a platform. This 30-minute chunk here is probably my favorite part of the PD. It's going to ask each one of you to go into CS First as a student and create your own project using CS First and Scratch. And it will be, so just to let you know, this next hour will be fairly interactive, and I will be asking you to kind of do some things and have some questions in terms of the projects and coding projects that you'll be creating. We'll take a look back at what we did, and then we'll wrap up. So again, if you've signed in at the beginning of this PD and you sign out at the end of this PD, you will be able to provide CTLE credit. So we got a smaller group today, which I'm really happy about because it will give you the opportunity to maybe ask questions in the chat or by unmuting your microphone. If you do have a question while you're doing some of these activities. But again, just some norms, please mute. If you're not intending to talk, just be sure that you're muted. And I welcome you to put questions in the chat anytime, and we'll have chances for answering questions. And then these last 2 points here I think are really important just for teaching coding to your students, whether it's remote or not remote. So it's all about this, we're on a journey together. Whether or not you are a star coder and you know your way around Scratch is definitely not the most important thing. I wouldn't even say it's important. I think the most important thing is letting students know that you are not a professional coder. You might be brand new to Scratch, and you might run into mistakes together, and maybe they'll find out an answer to a question or a bug in their code before you do. And it's a different way of learning that a lot of students are used to. But yeah, just really want to highlight those 2 points. Okay. So first, we're going to learn about the platform that Google's created called CS First. So Google CS First is it's meant to be an introduction to coding. So if students have never done coding before, never done Scratch before, this is definitely a great place for them to get started. If students have been using Scratch for a while, CS First does have a whole lot of activities ranging in difficulty. So if a student has been using Scratch for 2-3 years, there's plenty of resources here for them to go further, deeper, learn new skills like functions and variables and things like that. But again, it is 100% free online. This is not a system where you sign up and then a month later they ask for money. No, 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 no. It is 100% free. You log in for free, students log in for free, and then actually throughout this hour, you'll actually be signing up for a teacher account, and Google actually sends you some resources to your home, like the answer books and kind of a teacher guide, which is really helpful and also free. Recommended for grades 4 through 8. I've seen success in 3rd grade. I've seen success in high school, but definitely recommended for 4 through 8. CS First is aligned to a few different standards. CSTA standards, the K-12 computer science standards in New York. There's also plenty of Common Core alignment, and the lesson we'll be looking at today actually is aligned with ELA learning and is aligned to some English Common Core standards. Really great on their website. They just have a sheet, like a screenshot of what I got over here, where you can see, you know, if you do the high C's activity, you've done the following standards. So it's really easy and nice to look at. I've got a short link here, but I'll be providing these slides for all of you at the end as well. It's all about, CS First is all about anyone has a seat at the table, whether you're interested in music, art, dance, math, whatever. You know, if you have access to some minimal things, you know, CS First and Scratch work really great on a Chromebook, any type of laptop computer, but they also work great on a tablet. I've seen people attempt to use it on a phone before. I definitely don't recommend it, but I think it's been done, is I think the short answer to that. Okay, next section here, we're gonna dive into this, is the CS First model lesson. This is where you'll be going in and attempting or creating a project in CS First and in Scratch, and you'll be doing this as a student. So we're gonna walk through it. I'll be the teacher in the class and you'll be working as a student. So you're gonna, I kind of just said all these things, you know, be learning some of the instructional tools. You'll be exploring the CS First curriculum by doing, and then we'll reflect on it afterwards. So the first thing I'm gonna ask everyone to do right now, you're gonna be toggling between two different tabs. You'll be looking at my screen that I'm sharing right here. And then in a brand new tab, what I'm gonna ask you to do is please go to this URL, g.co/csfirst/pd. I'm also gonna put that in the chat right now. And please be sure to go to that URL right now and just stay right there. You know, once you get there, you'll click the blue sign in button in the top right-hand corner, but please don't move further than that. I'm just gonna give everyone 10 seconds right now. You should all be going to g.co/csfirst/pd and then clicking the blue sign in button and stay right there. Okay, I'm assuming everyone has gotten to this point right now. So I'm just gonna move on to the next step. And what you're going to be doing is you're creating a teacher account in this process. So I'm gonna, so what I need you to do, this slide needs to be updated. I need you to click I'm a teacher. I'm just gonna update the slide right now. Sorry for that error, everybody. You are clicking on the I'm a teacher icon. Be a teacher account, much better. Okay, so you've gone to g.co/csfirst/pd. You've selected I'm a teacher. The next step for you is you're going to sign in with a Google account. You can actually do this with your at schools NYC account, but I just recommend whatever email you're using the most with your students, whatever email is easiest to you, just sign in with that account. And then you should be getting to a screen that kind of looks like the one I have right now. It says creating your first class, but I'm gonna stop you right there. Once you are signed in and you're on the CS First platform and your screen sort of looks like what mine is now, but without these tiles, that is where I want you to stay just for a moment. So once again, you've signed in to g.co/csfirst/pd. You've created a teacher account. Your screen looks similar to the one that mine has, but without these tiles here yet. And just stay right there. You'll be creating a class a little bit later after we experience one of the activities. Actually, no, we'll be creating it in just a moment. Sorry. I'm going to give everyone just another 30 seconds to make sure that you've gone to g.co/csfirst/pd and you have created a teacher account. We got about 7 people on the call, so I just want to make sure that everyone is at the same place before we move on to the next step. Go back into the slideshow here. Okay, everybody, I am assuming that you are signed in with your teacher account now. If you need more time, please write in the chat more time or just something in the messages of the Google chat we're in right now, the Google Meet. Just let me know you need more time. If not, I'm assuming everyone is in a place where you're ready to create your first class, and then we'll start to move into an activity together. So if you could please look at my screen again, you'll see a big screenshot of the CS First platform. What I'm going to ask everyone to do right now, I'm gonna look at 2 slides here, and I'm gonna ask you to do this on your own. In a moment, you will be clicking the big button that says Create Class, and then after that, you will be adding activities. There'll be a big blue button that says Add Activities, and you are going to add the characterization activity to your class. And I'm going to do this on my screen, just using screen share right now. So please just watch my screen for another 30 seconds before you do this yourself. So I'm on the CS First platform. You might be looking at a page like this even. If you are, I just want to be able to sign in. There we go. So this took a second just to show up on my screen. If you're looking at this page, what you want to be is on your classes page. So I'm clicking on My Classes. You may already be on My Classes. My background's black, but yours might be white. And what you're doing is you're clicking Create Class. I'm going to give mine a name. I'm going to call it Made for Class. Create it. And once it's created, I have this option here for Add Activities. I'm going to click on that, and I'm scrolling down. I want to add the characterization activity to my class. So I'm going to click Add to Class, and I'm going to make sure I have a whole lot of classes here, but I'm just going to make sure I add it to the right one. You probably only have 1 class at this point, so Add to Class, and then I'm going to click View Class. And this is where everyone should be in the next 2 minutes. If you need those instructions again, just please let me know in the chat or by unmuting yourself. But I'm going to give everyone 2 minutes to add characterization to their new class.
I need additional help.
Okay, where are you stuck? No worries.
I'm up to where my screen is black and it says I hit Create Class, right?
Okay, great. So let me.
And then I have to put the class name?
Yes, you do. So
is this a fictitious class or my real class?
You can do a real class. That's a great question. So, for me, I just made a fake one. But if you want to call it period 1 class, period 2 class, that's fine. So again, we're on the CS First platform.
And then I put create, right?
Yep, so you gave your class a name.
Yes.
You created it. And then
hit add activities.
Yes, so then you click Add Activities when you're on the next screen, and you're going to find the characterization activity.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see it now.
And you got Add to Class there.
It says Add to Class?
Yep, and then
when you click, I see it. Okay,
great.
Add to Class. Okay.
Great. For anyone who's just joined, I just put a link to the platform we're using right now. And just be sure to, you can actually create your own account on there and join up where we are in the process now. So everyone on the line, maybe if you just joined, you might be just catching up, but everyone on the line, I'm assuming, has done the following steps. You've gone to the CS First platform, you've signed in as a teacher, you've created an account, you've created a class, and you've added characterization to that class. Okay, great. So we're just gonna move on to the next step here. Things are moving very quickly because we only have an hour. And in this step, what we're going to do is all together as a group, we are going to get the characterization activity started, and then I'm going to let everyone go off on their own and start experimenting with CS First and Scratch to create their activity. And again, you'll be experiencing this as a student. So to get started, I'm going to exit my slideshow here, and I just want to make it clear to everyone that when we're working in Scratch, I actually have a great slide about this, or when we're working in CS First, you are going to have 2 tabs open, and your students will also have 2 tabs open, and that is that you have 1 tab for CS First. And CS First is the platform where we're going to watch some videos and learn some tutorials for what we need to do to create code in Scratch. And Scratch is a coding platform that will have open in another tab, so students will be going back and forth between writing their code and learning how to write their code. So to do that all together right now, I'm going to go to the first the activity we added in characterization. I'm just going to ask everyone to look at my screen as we do this. And in the characterization activity, I right now am at the first step of 4 steps in that project. And I'm going to ask that we all together, we're going to watch the first video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the video on my screen. Please just watch my screen for this 1 minute and 46 seconds. If you do have a question, please actually just hold on to it until the video is done so you're not cutting off the video. So again, we're going to watch this video, and it's going to give you an introduction to CS First and an introduction to Scratch and the project we're going to do.
Hey, I'm Giselle, and I'm a proud Afro-Latina Googler who works with YouTube creators around the world. In this video, I'll give you a quick introduction to learning computer science through CS First. You can create stories, art, animation, websites, and music. Pretty much anything you can imagine with computer science. Computer science uses code. Code is just another way of saying instructions for the computer. There are a lot of ways to write code, but in this activity, you'll use a tool called Scratch. Scratch is a great way to learn to code. For this activity, you'll use code to show details about a character so others can get to know them. You can create a character, add their thoughts and speech, and move them around the stage. You can even add backdrops and sounds. In this activity, you will imagine how a character who is missing a school assignment might act. You'll choose your character and use code to make your character think, speak, and act in different ways to show who they are. Then, you'll show your story to a classmate. Your classmate should be able to describe your character based on the way that character speaks, thinks, and acts. Let's get started. Move on to the next video to have fun creating and coding.
So I'm just going to pause this here, this video. So you can see in the CS First platform, which I'm in right now, has different steps that the students navigate through. So below the video, I'm actually seeing these different steps. There's 4 for this particular project. And it gives you information about what you need to do. So this is the first project, the first video, so it's very simple what needs to be done at the end of this project. All we need to do after watching this video is click the green next button to go to the next thing. There's some instructions for you as a teacher over here with a lesson plan and a few other things here. And it's also available in Spanish. All these videos have been recorded twice, once in English, once in Spanish, on the Google team. So again, CS First, we're watching videos. It's telling us what we need to do. I would move on to this next step here. And it would give me, I would watch this video, and it would actually even tell me to try some other videos below after watching it. But so altogether, we just watched the first step. And what I'm going to ask everyone to do right now, if you're continuing to look at my screen, is you all are going to complete the characterization activity yourselves. We're going to give about 15-20 minutes to do this. So in a moment, what you're going to be doing is you'll be on your CS First platform. I'm just going to go back to my classes in CS First so I can see my screen, my dashboard, they call it again. And you can see I have a whole bunch of classes. You probably only have one class at the moment. But what you're going to do is that class that we set up about 10 minutes ago, you're going to look at that class tile, and you're going to click on where it says Characterization. And you're going to be ready to start this activity. So you'll have an option when you get started in just a minute. You can either watch that first video again if you'd like to rewatch that first video to understand what we're doing exactly, or you can go ahead and skip right to the second video and watch that video to understand what you need to do to create your first project. So again, in this next 15 to 20 minutes, I'm asking everyone to complete the first project of characterization as you would as a student. My goal here is for you to run into maybe some issues that your students might experience, and just to familiarize you with CS First and also with Scratch. So during this time period, I'm just going to ask folks, if you do have a question, please just put it in the Google Meets chat. Just be mindful that other people might be watching a video while this call is happening. So if you try talking, you might be cutting them off. Yeah, they might hear a lot of noise while they're watching the video. So if you have any questions, please let me know in the chat. But I'm assuming for the next 15 to 20 minutes, everybody is completing the characterization activity. And we'll get started right now. Okay, folks, if I can get everyone please to look back at my screen. I'm just opening up the slideshow again. So I know you might be right in the middle of creating something in Scratch, but if you could go ahead and put your attention away from that tab for a moment and back into my screen where I'm looking at the slideshow. I just want to reflect on what we just did and just kind of show you how you might be able to do this with your students. And we're going to talk about bringing this into a Google Classroom that you might have as well. So I'm assuming everyone here maybe rewatched the first video or went straight to the second step by clicking this blue dot down here. And then once you're in this step here, there was just another 3-minute video that gave you a link to a starter project. So this actually brought you straight into Scratch. And you added some blocks to your code, to your project in Scratch, so that you have a character and it's moved around maybe a little bit. And then there's some add-ons here. Maybe everyone here got a chance to start a first add-on. Maybe somebody had a chance to add 2 add-ons. But each one of these things here, these add-ons, if I click on them, brings me to another video.
How your character moves.
Another video put out by CS First that allows us to add new things to our project. So if I skip forward here, in CS First, there's actually a third and a fourth step. The third step's a survey, but I don't need us to worry about that right now. If you want your students to do it, they can, but it's definitely not a requirement. The fourth dot here is asking students to share their project. And this is a really important process that I'll explain in just a moment. But what I always think is really important is after any project, and I do think that this can be done virtually, is sharing a student's project. So yeah, I think it's really important to have students when they are submitting their work, whether they're submitting it to you on Google Classrooms or someplace else, is to ask them to reflect on it with these 2 questions I have on the screen right now. Share one thing that you were able to create, so whether or not you were able to make your character move or say something, and then one thing you were not able to create. I can't stress this enough, it's so important. I think everyone has, anytime you're working in Scratch, it's like, oh, I wish I had the character go back to this one position, or I wish I had time to put another character in. It's really important to get that information from the students. And also, if you have a way for students to share that with other students, maybe you're doing a Google Meets with your class where students are showing off their own work or presenting. One student sharing what they couldn't do to another student is a really important moment when writing code. I can't stress that enough. So again, when students are submitting their work to you, and I'll show you how they can do that in a moment, ask them to reflect with these 2 questions, one thing they could do and one thing they could not do. So what I'm going to do right now actually is I'm going to let's just show off a project. I've got a lot of screens open here. So maybe if you went through that project and you completed all 3 of the add-ons, you would have had something like this. I'm just gonna, I'm in Scratch in this window here. I'm gonna make it full screen, pressing this button in the top right-hand corner. And I'll show you my project. So my project, he comes in from the side, says, what a nice day, says hello to the sun. And you'll notice he thought, what a nice day. And then he said, hello, sun. So if I make this small again, you'll notice, I'm just gonna make these a little bit bigger, my code blocks, by clicking on these magnifying glasses here. He moved into the screen. I used this repeat block, which was a little bit of a difficult concept. And then he thinks, what a nice day. He turns, and then he says hello to the sun. So again, that's if you did all 3 of the add-ons. This normally should take a student maybe 45 minutes to 90 minutes, but it's a really great introduction into coding and Scratch. Okay, great. So I hope everyone got a little bit of a feel for CS First and a little bit of a feel for Scratch. What I want to talk about now is how you could get your students logged into this platform, how you can use it with Google Classrooms if you are using Google Classrooms, and make everything work seamlessly together. So the screenshot I got here, what you can do is you can take a link from a project and put it directly into Google Classrooms. So I'm going to go through that process right now of creating something similar to what we see here. And that is, I'm going to go into CS First. And while I'm in CS First, there's a few different tabs here. Up at the top, there's the curriculum tab. And this curriculum tab is really great because you don't need to be signed in to actually look at any of these projects. I'll talk in a moment about getting your students sign-ins or logins for the CS First and Scratch. But they can actually look at these projects without signing in, which is really helpful, especially for remote learning. So if I look at the characterization project, what I'm going to do is, if I go to the first step here, I've got this first step with the video ready to be played. I'm going to grab this URL up here. I'm going to right-click and select copy. And then I'm going to go into Google Classroom. I have it open in another tab here. The question is, which tab do I have it open in? Oh, here it is. I'm going to find, this is my Google Classroom I've set up ahead of time. Again, if you're not using Google Classroom, that's fine. I just want to show this for folks who might be doing it. I'm going to go into one of my sample classes here. And you can see here's my stream. In the classwork tab, I'm going to create a new assignment. You can see I already created one. I'm going to create another one here. So I click create and create an assignment. Title CS First assignment, I'm going to call it. Provide some quick instructions. Watch the videos linked to this assignment and create a program in Scratch. So then now that I have this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a link. So you remember before when I copied that link in CS First, I'm going to right click in here. I'm going to paste that link directly in. And a really great thing happens is this little tile shows up in the assignment. So I'm going to put this in my class for all students. I'm going to put it in my computer science topic, give it a due date. Let's make the due date this Friday. And I'm just going to keep it worth 100 points. So I'm going to assign this project now, or this assignment that I created in Google Classrooms. And this is the one I just created. And if I click on it, so the students can now, in Google Classrooms, they have this assignment here. They've got a quick description, and they can click directly on this tile here, which will bring them straight to CS First, ready to watch the first video. So again, it's just a really nice way to use everything in tandem. Great. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to put it in the chat or let me know. The next thing, so now we just discussed, you guys went through, you created a teacher account for CS First. You went through one of the first projects they have in CS First. We talked about how to assign projects in Google Classroom. The next thing I want to talk about, if I'm back in my slideshow, is how to get your students signed in. So I've got some slides here. And again, I'll be sharing the slideshow with you at the end. But there's also some ways that I talk about doing this, especially adjusting if you're using Google Classroom. So the way you're going to get your students signed in is, I've got the steps here, and what I did in another class here is I just, in Google Classroom, provided 5 quick steps for students to follow in order to join my class in Google Classrooms. So again, you can make an assignment in Google Classroom to have people sign up for CS First. But the step, and again, I don't want folks to follow along with what I have on these slides. If anything, I think this will be useful slides that you can take afterwards and use them with your students. But what you would ask your students to do is they would go to the same URL that we went to at the beginning of this PD. They would, remember we selected I'm a teacher. They would select I'm a student. And then on this screen, what they would do, they would be brand new students, and what they have to type in is a class code. And I want to show you how you find your class code. If I go back into CS First, and I'm just going to go to my classes. Again, I have a whole bunch of classes here. You probably only have one at the moment, but each class I have has a specific class code. I'm just going to zoom in here. This specific one, FTBR2G. That is specific to my class. If anyone of my students or anyone using CS First goes into CS First, signs up as a student, and when it says enter your class code, types in that class code for my class, they will become a student in my class. So that is something you would just show your students. Enter this demo class code when you enter as a new student. And something really great happens when a student does that. Students will actually be automatically generated with a username and a password. And this username and password works for CS First, and it works for Scratch. So if anyone's ever used Scratch before, you know that creating student accounts can be very challenging. You ask students to create an account, username, password, you hope they don't forget it, and then ask them to verify their account with an email address, which creates a whole new issues that you might encounter. But actually, when you do it with CS First, they automatically are generated with a username and a password, and it works for Scratch as well. So they would write down that username and password, maybe even share it with you. And you can actually even see in my assignment I've done on Google Classroom, what I'm asking students to do is go to the CS First homepage by clicking that icon. They're going to click on the sign-in button. They're going to click on a student, some of the things we were just doing. They would enter the class using the class code that I would provide here in Google Classroom. And then they would respond to the assignment by providing you, the teacher, the username and the password. That way, everything's kept in one place, and students now have this easy way to access Scratch, easy way to access CS First using Google Classroom and the new sign-in information that they've just been given. Again, I'm going to give you the slideshow in just a moment. I do want to just go through some quick things. We're running low on time, and we need to make sure we finish up that post survey. It's going to be very important for making sure everything wraps up nicely. So we use Scratch because it's very low barrier entry. I've seen students down to 5 years old use it. Again, this is recommended for grades 4 through 8. Just going through this very quickly. There's a whole bunch of projects on CS First. The one that we just worked through, Characterization, is aligned with ELA Common Core standards and really helps support that subject. But there's a whole bunch of other ones that support math and other different art, music, all different things. So when you're using CS First, I'm just going to exit my slideshow. I'm going to go back into CS First, and I'm going to go back into this curriculum tab. We took a look at characterization. So this is the first 1-hour activity that they suggest at Google CS First. But if I scroll down, there's a whole bunch of 1-hour activities. And right below that, there's actually multi-day activities. So these take about 8 to 12 hours in the classroom. And these are really, really great. They're for remote learning. Students can go through these projects, watch these videos one at a time, create their coding project. And specifically, different units are really great for different skills. Music and sound, obviously great for music. lessons. Storytelling is great for ELA learning. And game design I found is really great with learning math for students. And these, again, are 8 to 12 hour activities that students can work through asynchronously. So again, that was on the curriculum tab to see us first. You can add any of these things to your class and let students go through it. And I'm just going to keep going through the slideshow. Fantastic. Going quickly. You'll be getting these slides in a moment. I see a question in the chat. Do we add these activities to the class? Good question. So do you want to add these activities to your class? My suggestion to everyone is to start with the characterization activity. Have your students go through that the same way we went through it. After that, you would then think about other 1 hour activities you might add with your students, or even a full multi-day activity. My suggestion, I always love the storytelling activity. It really helps support ELA skills and reading and writing skills. But if you have students that are really interested, I think after you do characterization, you could send them into game design as well, so they're making their own games in Scratch. So again, my suggestion, just have characterization in there, have students go through that. After that, maybe you want to experiment with some other 1 hour activities or jump right into storytelling, music, or game design. Great question, thanks for asking it. Also on the CS First platform, there's plenty of lesson plans, solution sheets for you. If you do sign up, if you add one of the 8 to 12 hour activities to your class, Google will actually send you a little kit. It comes in a little cardboard box that looks like this. It's about the size of a laptop and just has some resources for you, the teacher, that will help you navigating. And again, that's only if you sign up for one of the multi-day 8 to 12 hour activities. But what I really need to ask everyone to do is I have a post survey here, and I'm just going to put it in the chat as well. Please, please, please fill out this post survey. This helps me get paid with my relationship with Google, so it's very important to me. I consider it a really big help if you do fill out that survey. When you're filling it out, it will ask which organization led you through this PD. Just let them know that you did this with Mouse. Again, that's the company I work at called Mouse. So please fill out that survey. If you fill it out too and you filled out the sign-in sheet at the beginning of this PD, you will be getting CTLE credit. We provide CTLE credit at the end of each month, so you should see something come in at June 1st. But the post survey is in the chat. I am also pasting in the chat the slides that we've gone through during this hour. So there's 2 great helpful links for you there. Please, again, fill out the PD post survey. You completed this activity with Mouse. I believe that's the 2nd or 3rd question. And there's the slides for you. Feel free to take the slides. They are Google Slides, so you can view them. You can copy them, use the slides with your students, make any edits you want to it. So thank you so much. Thanks, Belinda, in the chat for saying thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be in this call for the next 4 or 5 minutes. But I'm assuming right now that everyone's completing the post survey, and we'll be signing out after that. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to end the recording right now.